Hey kids, let's talk about essential books for collecting Pez. Now you're not going to need all of these, but there's a lot of fun stuff in here. And if you're a true Pez collector, you're going to want to have some of this stuff. You could get by with just two, but you don't want to do that. Here, this is one of the first ones. It's thin. It's back in the early 90s by David Welch. This is his first book. It's called A Pictorial Guide to Plastic Candy Dispensers, and it's got lots of cool pictures in here. Now, one of the most interesting things about this is some of the crazy history, what we did and didn't know. You know, if you look at pictures like this one with the Easter bunnies, you see this guy is painted, which is kind of nuts. And if you look back at the footnotes, you find neat stuff, little notes that that Mr. Welch put in here that'll tell you, hey, you know, these are C, that's the die cut one, usually seen as die cut. At least to my knowledge, it's always seen as die cut. And that A comes painted and unpainted. And again, to my knowledge, the painted one we just saw in the picture is some kid who had fun a long time ago. So this is, I used to own that. This is a ton of fun. Anyhow, this one, this is the Bible, all right? It is enormous, and it is chock full of information. David did an incredible amount of research, did tons of interviews, talked to people who used to work at Pez, who used to run Pez, who ran factories for Pez, learned all kinds of stuff that just was unknown. Unknown. I mean, the history of Pez is like a murky pool. You're not going to find a lot of information on your own out there, and the information you do find, it probably came in large part from David. So this is the book. It's no longer in print. I'm pretty sure you're going to find it on eBay, maybe Amazon. Certainly David, I think, has got some more copies. Then the early days of Pez, if you were collecting back in the early 2000s or earlier, you probably had these. And there are three of them by Richard Geary, who I just haven't seen in the collecting world. But again, some really cool pictures of stuff that that you may not see anymore. Now, these are old, meaning you're not going to find the newest dispensers in there. But if you're a vintage collector, you know, by all means, you should be flipping through this and see what you got. If you get, like me, you'll start tabbing them with pictures of stuff you need. So, then Sean Peterson comes along, and he's got three of these books, The Collector's Guide to Pez, and you can see they get thicker, 1, 2, and 3. And where did I do it? I guess the second book. I mean, look at that. I started throwing, hey, I need one of these. Hey, I need one of those. Hey, I need one of these. He's got pictures in here and some prices, but this is older stuff. He's got some crazy stuff in here, you know, whether it's test or hard to find or whatever else, or, you know, like stuff in one person's collection that you're never going to see again. It's really neat to look at. Like, what? What is that? I've never seen one of those before. Tons of fun. 1, 2, and 3. So far, if you got to have a book, you need to have the Collecting Pez one if you're at all interested in the history of Pez. And you got to have Volume 3 here if you're at all interested in having a near comprehensive photo book of all the different Pez dispensers out there. All right. Then you get into some crazy stuff, and I haven't gotten to one essential one yet. This is a price catalog from back in the Deutschmark days. Something that's interesting in here. This is not at all comprehensive at all. Plus, it's got weird stuff like, well, and this is the weirdest one in here. Top left there, you see the mimic monkey with the penguin whistle hat, known as monkey ball cap. Affe mit Hut. Ape with hat. Interesting. Not correct. Anyway, there you go. A giraffe for $70, that seems like a deal. Pony for 70, you know, it's just one pony. There are hundreds of ponies. Anyhow, Pez Collector. This was, so if you're like me, you started making your own Pez list back in the day. I still have my spreadsheet where I would keep track of things that came up on eBay that I'd never seen before and what they sold for and differences from the last time. peterandmark.com, there they are, since retired, and I think down in Florida, but they were a good source back in the day, along with Ann Long in Canada and some others, for the European Pez. eBay was not as extensive as it is now, where there's 20-something thousand listings. I remember when there were 2,000. You could actually look at all of them. This is a fun book, maybe a coffee table book. It's got some cool pictures, not comprehensive, but it's got some fun information. I wouldn't call it essential, but fun to have. This is essential. Let's see, the newest one, you got to have this. It's a near comprehensive, organized by section, no pictures, but it is an incredible checklist. So if you want to have all of whatever, or you want to know what's out there, or what you're missing, or what you got, or keep track without creating your own spreadsheet or whatever else, this is incredible. I do create my own spreadsheet, but I also make sure that I'm keeping track of what I have and don't have, which is kind of fun. I love seeing a page covered in orange. Okay, so John Laspina, you can contact him directly. So far, you got to have a Sean Peterson book. You got to have this John Laspina price guide, newest ones. You can get old price guides if that's what floats your boat, and the David Welch Bible. So Old Testament is down here, the David Welch book. Maybe this is the New Testament. Now, you got Jeff Rosenberg. Actually, this is, I guess if there's Old and New Testament, this is the Book of Mormon. I don't really know. Whatever the third book would be. Sean Peterson's, it's got a lot of information that is overlapping or complementary to the David Welch Collecting Pez book. Sean, if memory serves, used to be in St. Louis and working for Hallmark. And after he wrote some of his earlier Pez books that I already showed you, Pez approached him and asked if he'd like to work for them. There you go. And his collections, he built the Pez Visitor Center. This has timelines, history, some cool pictures. Again, a high degree of overlap with the David Welch book, but a ton of new information and a good read. One more thing from Sean Peterson. This is popular with some collectors, kind of carry around in their car or something while they're looking for stuff. Again, not comprehensive, kind of like the third edition of Sean's book I showed you earlier, but in a different format. Now, if you're an intense collector, you got to know Jeff Rosenberg. Jeff, he runs the Vintage Pez site, Vintage Pez Marketplace, and he's put together these Pez Pal handbooks, which are as detailed as you're going to get in knowing exactly what parts and what stems and everything else go with every single Pez Pal. He's got his own group on Facebook. I think it's this, Ultimate Pez Pal Handbook. And it's got the spreadsheet. Again, I like to highlight what I have and what I'm missing. And so that's just the spreadsheet version of those books. Jeff got bored and got a huge collection of octopus. So even more specific, what's out there in the world of the Pez octopus or blob. There you go. Now, lastly, if you want to collect some paper stuff, look at that. Cardboard and paper costumes, a guide, not an official list. This is 10 years old, and you'll see, and these come up pretty frequently. These are the A costumes, the B costumes, but then there's some that have Japanese on the back. Which ones do you have or don't have? And some of the ad sheets that go with it. There are also a number of other really cool costumes, kind of a fairy tale or storybook. You've got cowboys and Indians. You've got, I don't even know what you'd call these. What do we call these? I don't know. Different themes. Olympics. So there's all kinds of fun stuff in here. And if you want to collect those, even in the package, there's all types of things to learn there. So that's your essential. What do I do for books? Woo! I've done too much. I recommend David Welch, the Bible, Collecting Pez, the John Laspina Spiral Bound Price Guide, updated every year, and the Sean Peterson History book. And if you're a PAL collector, you got to have the PAL book. Of course, if you're an octopus collector, you'd be silly not to have that. But who out there only collects octopi? Not me. Have fun, everybody.